Ladies and gentlemen, we are live tonight for another edition of NASCAR Chase for the Cup 2005. It is the running of the Ford 300 live on KRC at the Homestead-Miami Speedway. 11 races to go in the NASCAR Busch Series season coming into tonight's race, or I should say following tonight's race. And then we'll have 10 races to go following the second one. Yes, that's right. We have a double header on this Friday night of action for you guys to kickstart your NASCAR fixing this weekend. And get maybe the month of May kicked off pretty strong, considering that will kick off on Sunday. So a little bit of adjustment to the custom schedule, or not the custom schedule season, but the weekly streaming schedule for this week. I will not be able to stream tomorrow night on the channel, so that is why we are doing both races tonight. Wasn't originally planning to run the Kansas race tonight, and this race was supposed to be ran tonight, but it was supposed to start at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. Instead, now it is starting at 6, so we have enough time to get the second race in, starting at about 7:30 or so. So like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. Doubleheader for the first time in a while on the channel, and again, that is because there will be no stream tomorrow night, so we'll be on normal pace again. And then Sunday, I'm going to do another doubleheader. Sunday afternoon, NASCAR Chase for the Cup 2005 at noon Eastern Standard Time, as we already planned. Watkins Glen for the Cup Series, and it will be the fifth to last race of the season there on the custom schedule season. So you won't want to miss that. Then following that, we will have the Dover live stream for the actual NASCAR Cup Series race. I wasn't planning on originally doing the commentary this weekend for Dover, but because I'm not streaming tomorrow night, I will be able to stream the race for you guys on Sunday. So a couple of double headers here this weekend. So no stream tomorrow, but we have 2 tonight, and then we have 2 on Sunday. Both tonight are the video game side of things, and then on Sunday we'll have the video game race at noon, and then we'll have the real race live commentary for the Dover coming up after that one. So it's going to be a busy weekend for myself. Glad you guys are here tonight for this early stream. Hopefully you got the community tab post a little while ago. And I will get this thing kick-started. Qualifying at Homestead. No practice for Greg Biffle as he jumps right into it. Mark DeMars, Travis Glanton, welcome to the stream for being the first down in the chat. Thank you for that. And Greg Biffle going to get ready to qualify in the number 60 Charter Ford. A 93-point lead in the Busch Series standings for Greg Biffle over second place in points, Ron Hornaday Jr. It's a 2-driver race for the championship as of right now. Kyle Busch is sitting third in points, but he is 312 points back going into this race tonight. The 2 races, both of them will be 200 laps and 300 miles, and both on 1.5-mile racetracks, as this one is at Homestead. Second race tonight will be at Kansas. Got back-to-back caution-free races in the Cup Series coming into tonight's race, but again, this is on the Busch Series side of things for both races. Greg Biffle's car does not feel that fast in the middle of the corner, but it is good enough for the pole, I guess. 32.430, and Biffle will be starting out in front tonight at Homestead. Look like about 43 hundredths of a second faster than second place in qualifying. So Biffle on the pole, and it'll be Bobby Hamilton Jr. who will start outside of the front row. Green flag is in the air, and we're underway for a doubleheader Friday night of action on the channel. Kyle Busch fan 18, welcome to the stream. Hopefully Ryan Blaney does well this Sunday. He usually has a decent runs at Dover. Chase Elliott, though, also usually is pretty good at Dover, too, so I don't know if he's going to make up 21 points this weekend on him. Actually, wouldn't be surprised if Chase actually has a bigger points lead following this weekend, to be completely honest. Greg Biffle will lead lap number 1. 5 bonus points for himself. Casey Atwood was able to get to second around Bobby Hamilton on the opening lap. And Hamilton will look to the inside of Atwood into turn 3. Casey Atwood going a bit wide. I think I'm just used to the Cup cars in this game. We haven't ran a Busch Series race in a little while. About a week and a half or so since the last Busch race on this season. Maybe the lack of horsepower is why I'm feeling like the car might be a little on the slower side of things. It definitely has a lot of grip though, too. Alan Barkley. Pack didn't get a wide receiver in the draft. Rest in peace, Rogers. Welcome to the stream. I mean, this is just an ongoing thing. Happy birthday to Dale Sr. Would have been 70 today. Wow. I do like this charter paint scheme. Pretty basic, but it pops really well at the same time. Biffle's already got about a half a second lead over Bobby Hamilton Jr. in the early going. Field spaced apart at least towards the front right now. Greg Biffle's dominated a couple of Busch Series races this season, including a 200-lap race at Dover earlier in the year where he led all 200 laps. Definitely a much tighter points battle in the Busch Series than what it is in the Cup Series side of things as of right now, but we also have a lot less races to go in the Cup side with 5 races to go. After tonight's doubleheader for the Busch Series, we'll have 10 races left still on this season. All my favorite teams are in Detroit except for the Packers. Pistons, Red Wings, Tigers, University of Michigan. I usually only watch college football and basketball. I don't really watch other college athletics outside of that. Biffle's just slowly pulling away from Bobby Hamilton in the early going of tonight's race. Should be a 3-stop race in both races tonight at Homestead and Kansas. You're going to see similar fuel windows in both of them as well. Justin Hutt, welcome to the stream. I think if you make a turn and drive it the opposite way, it would make the racing more exciting. Tony Stewart, Talladega. What year was that? 2011? No, I don't think it was 2011. 2012, maybe? 2008? No, he was with... He was part owner at SHR at that time, so it would have had to have been from 2009 on. Sean Derriman, welcome to the stream. Just finished a truck race at Dover on iRacing. At 49 to 50 laps, got wrecked by a lapper out of 4. Well, that's terrible. 2013. I figured it was in the pack racing era. I said 2011, but that was when they were tandem racing, so for whatever reason, that just didn't make any sense to me. Surprised I don't like Ohio teams. Well, I'm from Northwest Ohio, but I'm actually closer to Detroit than Cleveland and closer to Ann Arbor than Columbus. Literally, if I just drive like 45 minutes north, I'm in Michigan. Detroit's not that far into Michigan. Comerica Park, which is like right in the middle of Detroit, and all the, pretty much Ford Field and all the stadiums in Detroit is on exit 50 on I-75, or off of exit 50 on I-75. Considering the speed limit is 70 miles an hour, it's like maybe 40 minutes roughly north. Above the Michigan-Ohio border. Biffle is cruising right now. A 1.4 second lead. Making things look easy for himself for the time being. Still very early though. We have a long ways to go. I know the Busch Series races aren't as long as the Cup Series races. So in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to be a long race. Again, you just don't know how cautions could shake things up a little bit. The running order. Biffle having as fast of a car as he does, I think that's going to open the playbook out for some strategy. This isn't going to be as much of a track position kind of a race. I have 11 wins in the Busch Series right now, if I remember correctly. Check just to make sure. Yep, 11. 11 wins in the Busch Series. J.J. Yaley's won 2 of the last 5 races coming into this one, including the most recent race at Milwaukee a week and a half ago. Gonna be one of 10 people in the A Stadium. Going to the baseball game tonight? Hopefully you have fun. Alternate through the different camera angles for the first time in the early going in today's first race. I'm going to say, for not practicing, he really nailed the setup going into qualifying. We'll see if Biffle could go wire to wire again in a Busch race this season. Definitely a very similar start to how Dover was, though. That race went caution-free, which allowed him to lead wire to wire. So we'll have to see if this one will be able to stay caution-free all the way throughout as well. So far through 20 laps it has. We've had 5 caution-free races in both the Cup Series and the Busch Series seasons. And 2 in a row in the Cup Series. It's been a while since we've seen a wreck in this game. 3 nights since the last caution. It's quite a long streak. Keegan frickin' Schneider. I was wondering what KFS stood for at first. Thank you. Hopefully you have a good time, and at least with the lack of people there, maybe your chances of catching a foul ball are a lot higher. Biffle's pulled out to nearly a 2-second race lead. Very early going. Biffle's lap time's pretty consistent for the most part, too. He just ran a 32.4 flat on that last lap, which was only 6/1000ths of a second slower than his fastest lap in this race. Honestly, this has to be one of the smoothest driving race cars I can remember having in a long time. In this game, at least. Doesn't matter what the series is. It feels slow because of how good it's handling, but it's obviously a lot faster than seemingly every other car in the field. At least out of those that qualified towards the front of the field. And we'll see if we had some faster cars that maybe qualified a little bit further back. Like Kyle Busch and Ron Hornaday are in the top 3 in points, and they did not qualify inside the top 5. So quite a ways until Biffle ends up catching any lap traffic as well. So he is definitely enjoying the clean air. Again, if you're just tuning in for the first time tonight, Greg Biffle qualified on the pole and has led the first 26 laps now as he crossed the start-finish line. He has a 2.3-second lead. Last we knew, Bobby Hamilton Jr. was in second. I'd imagine he is still there. I guess you never know for sure. No way of really being able to tell in this game. And also, if you're just tuning in and wondering why this race started an hour and a half early, I'm not streaming tomorrow night on the channel, so our Kansas race that was originally scheduled for tomorrow night is being rescheduled and moved up a day to later tonight following the conclusion of this race. So a double header on the channel for some NASCAR Busch Series action on NASCAR 05. Center would have been 62. Man. I didn't realize he was... I mean, I guess that what? He passed away 30 years ago almost? 28? Was it 94 when that happened? Yeah, I think Kyle Busch is going to find a sponsor next season. I mean, it's Kyle Busch. He's not going to go sponsor. He's literally in the top 10 in the wins list all time in the NASCAR Cup Series. He's going to find a sponsor. I'm not worried about it at all. I don't think Kyle Busch fans should be either. I think more than anything, Kyle's just frustrated with the fact that he hasn't had one yet. Therefore, that's why his contract is still being negotiated for that reason, and he doesn't have a set deal yet. I think also on top of that, I mean, we know Kyle Busch tends to over-exaggerate when it comes to a lot of things with the media and interviews and press conferences and stuff, so I wouldn't really believe him when he says that, I'm sure he's uncertain about the future as far as, what sponsor is going to jump on board, but Interstate Batteries, I'm sure, will take a larger role than what they have in years past. Maybe Monster Energy steps up. They've sponsored him a lot in the Xfinity series. Derek Booth, welcome to the stream. Today's Dale Sr.'s birthday. Yeah, it was the second one to point that out. I actually had no clue. 1994. Basically been 28 years. Thought it was 94. Like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content if you are new watching this right now. A lot of content coming up this weekend. Again, a doubleheader tonight for the first time in a while on the channel. I will not be streaming tomorrow night, so that's why we had to move tomorrow night's race up to the conclusion of this one. It'll be on 2 separate streams tonight, and then we'll also have a doubleheader on Sunday afternoon. NASCAR 05 again at noon Eastern Standard Time at Watkins Glen for the Cup Series custom schedule season. And then following that one, live race commentary at Dover this weekend on the channel as well. We'll be doing the live commentary for the Cup Series race this weekend at Dover. Wasn't originally planning on doing it this weekend, but things became available on Sunday for me that I'll be able to get it to you guys. I was going to be able to watch the race. I was going to be at my grandparents', but pushing that up a night and gonna end up having the race with you guys on Sunday. So between last week at Talladega and this weekend at Dover, I believe we have 5 straight weeks of some sort of live commentary on the channel NASCAR wise. Talladega Cup race last week, the Dover Cup race this week, the Darlington Throwback race the following week, the Texas All-Star race for the Cup Series, and then the Xfinity Series race at Charlotte is likely going to happen for a live stream that following week, and then I'll be at Gateway. I'll be at Indy for the 500 on Memorial Day weekend, so I'm hoping I can get you guys the Xfinity Series race that weekend. That one's definitely a question mark that's up in the air, but definitely going to be 4 straight Cup weekends in a row for you guys. I'll give you guys the commentary for it. I think all those races are on Fox Sports 1 too. Well, not last week. The next 3 are on Fox Sports 1. Main Fox was last weekend. So 37 laps in, or at least on lap 37 going into turn 3 when Greg Biffle hit halfway on fuel as he's still driving away from everybody else and out to about a 2.8 to 2.9 second lead. Thanks for that comment, by the way, Derek. I've only ever met a fan of the channel once in person, so I never really think about stuff like that where, I see you guys comment about it like, love your content, awesome content, keep up the good work and all that. But, like, in my normal life when I'm not streaming the other 22 hours of the day, it's just kind of, I don't know, it feels abnormal to even, like, really talk to other people like, oh yeah, I have a YouTube channel, because I try not to talk to people about it too much. I don't want to gloat about it, but I also do have a lot of fun with it, and it is 2 hours of my life on a daily basis that I'm very passionate about. Back home again in Indiana, and it seems that I could see. Yeah, I'm curious as to what the pageantry is like with the Indy 500 on race day morning and the pre-race festivities and all that, because I've been to some Crown Jewel NASCAR races that have definitely been hyped up, but the Indy 500, I'm excited to see what that's going to bring. To be my first one ever in person, because the Daytona 500 was definitely up there this year. That was an awesome experience. I'm sure Indy will be, I'd have to assume, around the same kind of atmosphere. It'd be cool to see Elio win a 5th, break the all-time record this season. I'm pulling for Jimmy though. As a NASCAR fan and a diehard NASCAR fan, my first Indy 500, I have a NASCAR guy to root for in it. I'm hoping Jimmy Johnson brings it home. And he ran good on the only other oval they've had so far this season at Texas. He finished 6th. So although he hasn't been great on road courses in IndyCar, he's already proved that on ovals he could be a threat to win. And Indianapolis, you look at his record there in NASCAR and the Cup Series, what he has, 4 Brickyard 400 wins? Four or 5. I think he has 4. I think Jeff Gordon has 5. So I'm hoping for one of those two to win, specifically Jimmy Johnson. But if I had to have a IndyCar regular, I guess, even though Johnson's an IndyCar regular now, a familiar face in IndyCar, I'd pick Helio. If I had to pick a favorite for... That's not like... I'm not saying like those are my picks to win the race. I'm just saying that those are the guys I would be rooting for that weekend. Right front tire wearing out a little bit more on the 60 of Biffle. Still maintains about a 2.9 to 3 second lead over Bobby Hamilton Jr. in second. Caution free, 45 laps in. And we'll be seeing some green flag pit stops within the next 15 to 20 laps. It'll be the first set of pit stops tonight. Michael Turner, welcome to the stream. See you in the chat. My favorite Ryan Blaney Cup victory easily is the Michigan race last season when I finally got to see him win in person. That is easily my #1 pick. I will never forget that moment. So many races I've been to, and up to that point, I think that was the 23rd Cup race I've ever been to in person. Never got to see my favorite driver win. All of these different tracks I went to, and then for it to actually happen at my home track, about an hour and a half, maybe a little less than that, away from where I live, and the fact that my entire family was there because I've gotten them into going to Michigan on an annual basis, so it wasn't like one of those races where I got to witness it, but I was kind of by myself there the race weekend like I am most of these races I go to and travel to for the channel. But the fact that I had literally 8 family members there that we were grilling out before the race, having a blast beforehand, and then Blaney brought it home. That was easily my favorite. If you guys go back and watch the race highlight video of the ending of that race on the channel, I've had the camera be shaky before, typically because of wind. But when he crossed the checker flag, like I couldn't, I almost kind of felt lightheaded. Just a little bit. I was just like, oh my God, he actually did it. Because I wasn't believing it. Byron put on a charge off the exit of turn 4 on that final lap too. I was like, he's going to lose again. He's going to lose again. And he actually held on. I literally saw him finish second at Indy the week before that too. I was like, man, he finished second again. Always seeing him when he gets good top 5, top 10 runs almost every time. Really all but like maybe 2 or 3 races I can recall that he's finished outside the top 10 when I've gone to see a cup race in person. Finally got the job done. Indianapolis 500 has been running since 1911. Missed out 1942 and 45 with the World War II. They miss any years during World War I also, or was it just World War II where it skipped some years? Michelle Marie Cave Miller, welcome to the stream. Practice 1 and 2, first place at Watkins Glen. Assuming you're talking about for yourself. Only 2 years they missed out. Oh, World War I, they skipped 2 years. Gotcha. Yeah, so what? Two in World War I, and then 2 in... Or I guess... Well, no, you said from 42 to 45, so... That's a total of 6 years. But other than that, it's an annual I almost said transition. Annual tradition. There's the right T word I was looking for. Been a very quiet race so far. Greg Biffle's been in a league of his own. He hasn't even caught any lap traffic yet and has just over a 3-second lead over Bobby Hamilton Jr. Just over a quarter of the way home. Still caution free and still awaiting our first pit stop of the race today. Biffle going to try to stretch this opening run on fuel as far as he possibly can. If he could go 67 laps, there is a chance that he could actually make it on 2 stops today instead of 3. So that is what he is looking for. And honestly, making it to lap 37, he should be able to easily make it on 2 stops, you would think. That is still impressive, especially when you look at going through the pandemic, especially in 2020, and they were still able to get the race in, even if it wasn't on Memorial Day weekend. The fact that they've literally had this race annually from 1946 to now, that they haven't even missed a year. Some cars using the access road trying to get to pit road currently, as green flag pit stops are starting at lap 56. We're the 4-time IndyCar or Indy 500 winners: Helio Castroneves, Rick Mears. Was it Unser Senior? I think it was Senior, right? I don't think Junior won it 4 times. I think Senior won it 4 times. Who was the 4th? I can't remember the one I'm missing. AJ Foyt, yep, thank you. Thank you for that one. Patrick Shatterley, welcome to the stream. Yep, doubleheader tonight. For those of you just tuning in for the first time. Sorry for that on the spur of the moment, but I can't stream tomorrow night on the channel, so we are running the Kansas race following the finish of this one. Currently in the middle of green flag pit stops, Greg Biffle's led the first 59 laps of the race. So we continue to stay caution-free. Wade Solinsky, welcome to the stream. Apologize for being late. Well, I'm early, so no need to apologize there. I mean, you don't have to apologize in general anyway, but I accept your apology. Again, if you are just tuning in, you haven't missed much. It's been a very, very quiet race so far. Fast-paced, considering that it's still caution-free. Wonder how much Bobby Hamilton Jr. can cut into the lead with Greg Biffle staying out of the pits as long as he can, trying to make it on 2 pit stops. Everybody that's been pitting here in recent laps is definitely on a 3-stop strategy, but Biffle's going to try to make it on 2. He's not the last car still on the racetrack, but as long as he can make it 67 laps, he'll be able to make it on 2 stops. You notice, maybe we'll see a caution in the middle of green flag pit stops as well that traps a lot of these cars a lap down. All 4 tires in the yellow for Greg Biffle. Hasn't made any contact with the wall or another car at all in this race. Like I said, he's been by himself all race. Even on the long run with the tires wearing out, it really doesn't feel like he has any extra lack of grip. And I'm sure he's definitely down a little bit of it. Clean air definitely helping him hold the corners pretty well also. Greg Biffle has a 1-lap lead on the field now, as he is the last car on the lead lap that still has to make his first pit stop of the day. We're at lap 64, a few more laps, and he'll be able to make it all the way to the end. AJ Foyt is a Daytona 500 winner. If I'm not mistaken, I think AJ Foyt has more than 1 Cup win also. I think he's won another Cup race somewhere else. I want to say Riverside, but I'm not entirely sure. And if it's not him, it's Mario Andretti that has more than 1 Cup win. They might both have more than 1, but I know at least one of them does. One of them's won at Riverside. Maybe both of them have. Also just further proves, even outside of open wheel racing, those guys can really wheel anything. Greg Biffle going 3 wide. Lap traffic around him in turns 3 and 4. Blue Castleberry is on the outside of Biffle right now. Just made it to lap 67. Slides up clear of Castleberry into turn 1. Dark Crypto, welcome to the stream. Both Foyt and Andretti won Daytona 500 and Indy 500. Yep. Foyt won Indy 4 times, Andretti won 2. Interesting fact, though, Marco Andretti is the only Andretti to ever qualify on the pole for the Indy 500. Mario and Michael were never able to do so. That's one accolade he has at Indianapolis that relatives do not. Lap 70 is Greg Biffle still out on the racetrack, waiting to make his first stop of the day. He's within the window to make it on 2 stops. The longer he stays out, hoping for a caution, I think the better. He's got a really fast race car, so even if he does lose the lead, he should be able to easily catch up and retake it. No problem. Yeah, I know I need to pit. I'll pit soon. Pit at lap 72. It'll be the first stop of the day for the Biff. He's only 29 laps away from leading the most laps in today's race. Clinching that, considering that he has led every lap so far. He's got to hope his pit crew does not make a mistake, though, and he could cycle off of pit road pretty easily. And off turn 4, Biffle locking the tires up, trying to make it to pit road, and does. He locked the tires up for a long time, and for a second there, I didn't think he was going to be able to get the car to turn below the tire barrier at the front of pit road, but he was able to do so. Probably why everybody takes the access road onto pit road at Homestead. Biffle may have to do that the next time if he has to make another green flag stop. And the number 60 team will go to work. 4 tires and fuel, no adjustments under the first stop of the day. Clean, quick stop for Greg Biffle's crew. Oh, he got really tight into the grass. And on the outside of the racetrack is the 117 car. I don't know if this is lap traffic that Biffle cycled around. It looks like it has been lap traffic. So even with that mistake kind of coming out of the pits and on that excess road leaving pit road, he ended up having to go through the grass. It cost him a little bit of time, but he comes out with about a 7.8 to 7.9 second lead over second place. So still, Biffle has a pretty large lead in this one, and in fact, he's actually merged out in lap traffic as well. Not only was it a clean stop, but even on older tires, staying out as long as he did, they were not able to close in on the lead. In fact, Biffle was still able to grow the lead in the middle of green flag pit stops, making his job even easier. alternate through the different camera angles one final time in today's race. Still in the first half of our first race of the night. Sure do play this game a lot. I've stated already that this is my favorite NASCAR game of all time. I'm gonna miss it though. That's for sure. Final couple weeks of seeing this game on the channel. Comment in the chat down below if you think we're going to see a caution at all in tonight's race. And not only Biffle has dominated this one, but I think I mentioned he's looking to make it on 2 pit stops, and everybody else looking like they're going to end up having to make 3. Which could definitely play into a pit strategy kind of a race, in the sense that if we do get a late caution in this one, that they're likely going to pit. Biffle may have to consider pitting with them just to take fresh tires as well. If that ends up coming to fruition later. Probably not going to see a caution flag with this kind of racing. Yeah, I'm pretty relaxed. I mean, it's relaxed where Biffle's been all day, but I mean, there's obviously battles going on around the racetrack that we can't see all day long. That takes us one little hiccup, one little mistake. We've seen single car spins quite a bit in this game as well. I know this isn't a cup race, but this could be the 3rd race in a row on this game on the channel that it's going to go caution free. If we get through both races today without any cautions though, make it 4 in a row, that would just be insane. I mean, just that back-to-back like that, especially both cup races within the last couple nights. One of them was on a fantasy track last night at the Levi Strauss Signature Speedway as it went caution free. Over a 9-second lead now for Greg Biffle. I'm not going to lie, this is going to be one of those races that's going to be hard to commentate because there is nothing going on in this one. I just feel like I'm repeating myself the whole time. Honestly, I can't really remember the last time we've had a race where there was no drama. It was straightforward. There was no battles for position. It was just, I don't know, kind of a lazy day. even when we went wire to wire at Dover earlier this season, I felt like there was at least, you know, instances where it's like, oh, we almost had an accident somewhere on the racetrack or something, but this one is just about as dull as it gets, ladies and gentlemen. Try to keep it as exciting as possible. Commentating can only enhance the action so much. If the action isn't there, it's kind of hard to hide it with the commentating sometimes. And tonight's one of those nights. It definitely helps, though, for Greg Biffle that he has had this easy race going for him. Try and grow this points lead out as much as he possibly can. 14 laps away from halfway because he has led the first 86 laps tonight. If he continues to lead the next 14, unless a caution came out, I don't see why he wouldn't. He's going to end up clinching the most laps led already at the halfway mark. So no matter what happens the rest of this race, 10 bonus points will be awarded. I will say one thing that is on the line here, and I don't know if I've ever done this before. I don't know if I've ever not hit the wall or another car in an entire race before, and it doesn't matter whether it's a Cup, a Busch / Xfinity, or a truck race, a modified race. I don't think I've ever done that. It's so hard not to do that, especially on the video game or the analog stick. But maybe today could be the first. I mean, he hasn't even made a mistake yet in this one either. He's been perfect from the get-go, and he definitely doesn't want to get too relaxed and make a big mistake and risk getting in a slide, because even though the car's handling really well right now, it takes just overstepping it maybe a little bit. That's all it takes. (1950 to 1960), IndyCar racing and F1 ran the Indy 500. Usually Biffle's ran his fastest lap of the race during this current fuel run since he had made his first pit stop. His best lap's now at 32.346. I'm not sure exactly what lap that was or how long ago it was, but I know it was after his one and only stop in the day, which took place on lap 72. So it couldn't have been that long ago. He ran his fastest lap. Fastest lap before that was in the 32.39. 393, I believe, was his fastest lap prior. He jumped up about a half a tenth. Yeah, didn't they not have Monaco on the same weekend as the Indy 500 for that reason? So that way, at that time period in NASCAR, in auto racing, so they could allow Formula One drivers to participate in the Indy 500 if they wanted to and not miss a Formula One race. I'm all for having them do that again. I'm sure there's a lot of Formula One drivers or drivers in Formula Series that would, of any kind, would love to run the Indy 500. Want the opportunity to. That might not have been the time period. I know they used to do that. I just don't know what years they were doing that for. Well, we're almost halfway. It feels like this race has been going on longer than an hour. That is how lackluster it has been so far. It feels like I've been racing here for a while. I'm almost kind of dreading having a second race after this just because of how long this one feels like it's taken. Even though it's actually going by relatively quick. You got almost half the race done in less than an hour. Two laps away from halfway. Again, once we get there, Greg Biffle will clinch the most laps led, as he has led every lap in this race so far. An impressive performance up to this point. He has just over a 9.5 second lead. This is, even through cycling through one set of green flag pit stops, he still led every lap. So he was able to go further than everybody else on fuel and actually cycled out ahead a little bit further. Gapped the rest of the field by about 5 seconds. Lap 100, so this time by will be halfway and he'll get 10 bonus points locked up for today's race no matter what happens. If something catastrophic happens, like a wreck in front of him, anything of that nature. Definitely why you have to be on high alert still. Mention anything could happen. You look back at the Cup Series race we had at Michigan earlier in the week. Biffle coming from a lap down in that Cup race and running not only a lap down for most of the race, but just running really poorly. He was outside the top 30 for a long time. He was 40th for a while. Less than 60 laps to go in that race, and he was still in 38th, one lap down at one point. Was still able to rally back and get a second place finish with a caution, some pit strategy. Well, it's a pit strategy, then a timely caution, and then more pit strategy that put him in that position. And he almost stole the win away from Tony Stewart. Biffle gets around Blue Castleberry pretty quickly. 99 laps to go. Now the rest of the field started making their green flag pit stops at lap 56, were the first drivers that ended up pitting. So if they go 56 laps again, we're probably going to see green flag pit stops open back up for at least some of the field in about another 10 laps. Jason Keller will be the first car lap down. No free pass position is awarded in the Busch series, though, in this game. So if we do see a caution, Keller would not get his lap back. A lot more clean air in front of Biffle as well. Passing Keller that last lap. And he has a ways until he gets to the next lap car. I do not have a trivia question yet. I'll pause it and look one up real quick. Once I get onto the back straightaway. Guess we get 2 trivia questions tonight. I was not prepared for either one. I'll try to find the Kansas one between streams so I don't have to pause it like I am right now. Alright, let's look up some trivia. Homestead Racing reference. Track info. Alrighty, let's see what good old Racing Reference has on here. What can we find? Xfinity series. Trying to find a question for you guys for the trivia tonight. Let's see, 2. Oh no, I didn't want to accidentally clicked on Carl Edwards for a driver profile by accident. Alright, I think I have a question that no one is going to get. We'll see. Yeah, why not? Let's go with this question. Alright, well, for those of you that are hanging in there and still watching, tonight's trivia question on the channel is, who is the most winningest driver in the NASCAR Xfinity Series at Homestead-Miami Speedway? So who has won the most races in the NASCAR Xfinity Series at Homestead? That is tonight's trivia question. I want to see if anybody's going to get it. They've only been racing there since the early to mid-90s. It's not like you have to go way, way back in history to try and find it. It's had multiple different configurations as well. But that is tonight's trivia question, and I'll give you guys the answer to that question at lap 115. I'll give you guys a little bit more time considering this is a mile and a half. It is not Greg Biffle. If somebody gets it right before lap 15, I will say it, because I don't think anybody's going to get this right tonight. And don't Google it if you can help it. It is not Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch has 2 wins. But he is not the most winningest. It is not Mark Martin. NASCAR Blood, welcome to the stream. It is not Jeff Gordon. It was a good try as well. I just don't think anybody's going to get this tonight. This is a tough one. I feel like you guys are going to be shocked Gotta give the answer. I'll say that much. Cliff Gadry, welcome to the stream as well. It is not Kevin Harvick. Harvick also has 2 wins at Homestead in the Busch / Xfinity series. I think Gordon has 2 also. I don't know how many Mark Martin has. I know he has at least 1. It is not David Green. I like you thinking outside the box on that one. But it is not David Green. I don't know if he's ever won here, honestly. Junior. I'm assuming you're thinking Dale Jr., but got to be a little bit more specific on that. It is not Dale Jr., I'll tell you that much. Jeff Burton is close, but it is not Jeff Burton. Burton also has 2 wins at Homestead. There's a lot of drivers that have 2. But the record is 3. For the Xfinity series, at least. It is not Carl Edwards. You guys have about 3 more laps. 90 seconds to try and figure it out. And if you're just tuning in, tonight's trivia question is, who is the most winningest driver in NASCAR Xfinity Series history at Homestead-Miami Speedway? So who has won the most Xfinity races at Homestead in the Xfinity Series all time? It's the question to tonight's trivia. 10 likes on the stream as well right now, so definitely like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content as well. In the second half of race 1 of our doubleheader at the Homestead-Miami Speedway, Greg Biffle's led every lap so far, and everybody has pitted once. And we're going to be seeing some more drivers pit for their second stops of the day very soon. It is not Casey Kane. It is not Denny Hamlin. Billy Kramer, welcome to the stream. In time for the trivia question, but you don't have too much longer to answer. Again, one last time, tonight's trivia question is, who is the most winningest Xfinity Series driver at Homestead? So who has won the most Xfinity races at Homestead in NASCAR history? They've only been racing here since the mid-90s. So you shouldn't have to go too far back in history to try and pull this name out. It is not Jeff Green. Tried a couple greens. It is not either one of them. It's not Ward Burton. I don't think he ever won a Busch race here. He might have. I don't remember him winning one. Or recall him winning one. See if Billy has a guess before I give you guys the answer. I'll prolong it to lap 120. I still believe that no one's going to get it. I'll give you guys to lap 120, and then I'll finally give you guys the answer to the question. That's 15 laps on a mile and a half. I have not seen it yet. In the middle of green flag pit stops. It's not Tony Raines. That's too far outside the box. Has he ever even won an Xfinity race? And if he has, there's no way that man has won at the same track 3 times. Yeah, it's a little too far outside of the box. At least you're trying. Oh, man! contact into turn 3. Speaking of Jeff Burton, I think that was him that just made contact with the left rear of his teammate Greg Biffle. It wasn't Burton, it was Mark Martin. It is not Todd Bodine. That's the first contact Biffle's had with anybody today. Burton was coming out of the pits on the bottom of the racetrack, and Biffle had gotten into him. It is not Jamie McMurray. Lap 120 is complete. So again, the answer to tonight's trivia question, after the trivia question was, who is the most winningest driver at Homestead-Miami Speedway and NASCAR Xfinity Series history? The answer to the question, I did not see it in the chat, is Joe Nemechek. Joe Nemechek is the answer to tonight's trivia question. He is the most winningest driver in NASCAR Xfinity Series history at Homestead. 3 wins in the 1990s. And actually, well, 3 wins from the 90s into the early 2000s. 2001 was his most recent win at Homestead. He also has wins there in 95 and 97. So 3-time winner Joe Nemechek at Homestead. And I didn't think anybody was going to get that tonight. I certainly didn't know it until I looked it up. Joe Nemechek was the answer to tonight's trivia question. Mark DeMar's pulling a Homer Simpson down in the chat. No! That's my, I don't know how bad that actually sounded. Was that a good impression? I don't know if that was a good impression or not. Impersonation of Homer Simpson. It probably didn't sound anything like him. Peter Conover, welcome to the stream. Front row Joe, yep. Never would have gotten that. Yeah, it was a difficult one. Biffle struggling to get around the 23 car of Kenny Wallace right now. Biffle pit at lap 72, so he can go to about lap 144 before he has to make his second and final stop of the day. And everybody else that has been pitting here recently is going to have to pit again before the end of the race. They're not going to be able to make it on fuel. Like Wario. He did say that, didn't he? Too much rain, no golf this weekend. Yeah, man, it's just cold here. I mean, it was 50 degrees again today. I don't know what I have to do to get consistent. It's usually not this cold this late into the spring consistently. Like, every now and then you'll get a day that's in the 50s, mid to late April, but it's not every day like it has. I've literally only golfed home, at least, in Ohio. I want to say 5 times. And then I golfed outside of Ohio 4 times already. Because it's been warmer down south. When I went to Bristol, I golfed Sunday of the Cup race in the morning. And then I played in Atlanta Sunday before the Cup race, and then Monday before I left and came home, and then I played also in Atlanta on the way down to Daytona back in February. But yeah, as far as at home, I've literally almost played out of state more than I played in state this year, just because it's just too cold still. I mean, it's not like 50's not bad, but it's windy every day, so it's 50 degrees, but then the wind chill feels like it's in the low to mid 40s, and then on top of the fact that it's super windy, it's just not going to happen. Even when it was 80 degrees this last weekend, we had winds of 20 to 30 miles an hour, and I played, and let me tell you, I struggled, but I still played because it was 80 degrees. We haven't had that much. I still have a while till next Wednesday. The weather forecast could change between now and then. Unless you're talking about how much rain you're supposed to get this weekend. I doubt it'll be flooded for 3 full days though. I feel like you'd have to get a lot of rain for that to happen. $70 laps to go. I believe everybody has already made their second stop of the day except for Biffle. I have no clue if leagues have started where I live or not. I feel like I played League 1 year, and I think it started in late April, if I'm not mistaken. Alright, so Biffle's going to go to lap 144 before he pits next. 13 likes on the stream so far. Thank you for hitting the like button. If you haven't done so already, make sure you do so, and also subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. We still have another race coming up tonight. It'll be at Kansas. Hopefully that one has got a little bit more action than this one has had so far. Through 134 laps, it's been very quiet. A little bit of contact one time. Jeff Burt cycled off of pit road. Got into the left rear of Greg Biffle going into turn 3, but that is the only contact Biffle's even made today. And he's not hit the wall yet in this one either. Through 134 laps. 3 wide with the lap traffic up ahead. Looks like they'll merge easily off of turn 4. So as we have 10 laps before Biffle pits, let's have a little story time. And I don't think I've told you guys this story yet. And this is a very, very recent travel story. Historical cinematics, welcome to the stream. Darlington was a good race. Talking about, on this season, potentially? Oh, you're talking about Southern 500? That we ran earlier in the week? Yes, it was. That was a really good race. We did have a caution late in that one, so like I said, anything could happen here. Anyway, to go on to story time. And it's going to be my first plane flight. And that took place when I went to Fontana for the NASCAR race this year at Auto Club Speedway. So I did tell you guys about how I ended up having to fly, because originally I was going to take a rental car and I was going to leave a couple days early and take the drive out there because I've never seen that part of the country. Well, I ended up having to fly last second because the day I was supposed to pick my rental car up from Enterprise, they ended up having no rental cars on lot. They didn't get a drop-off yet. And so I was waiting on a vehicle, and they said that they were going to likely have some back the next day, and I wouldn't have been able to leave the following morning that late at like 9 o'clock and then get there on time. Like, I was already cutting it close for time as it was leaving 3 days early, but leaving 2 days early, I definitely wasn't going to be able to do it. So what ended up happening there, I ended up having to book a flight last minute. So that led me into, without flying for the first time, I was going to have to fly into LAX. My first ever flight. One of the biggest airports in the U.S. And I don't think it's the biggest. I think it's like the second or third biggest. But it's very, very big. And I've never been to California, never been to Los Angeles. You know, so be it. Never been on a plane. Just going to fly my first time. I had two options. I had to pick either in the morning at like, leave time was like 4 o'clock. I want to say it was like one of the first flights that went out that morning. It was like just after, it was like 4:10 or 4:20, something like that. So I had to choose either that flight, AM, which would have been the day before the race. I didn't want to do that because when I was booking, when I had to book literally the day before, I was like, man, there's no way I'm going to be able to go to bed at like 7 o'clock, 6, 7 o'clock tonight to wake up at like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Like, it was too close of notice for me to prepare for something like that and make sure I got to sleep that way. So I made sure I went to bed early that night. I was going to sleep in pretty late because I knew I wasn't going to have much sleep the following night. That's because I would leave at about 11:15 was my departure time from Detroit Airport, and I wanted to get a connected flight, or I didn't want to get on a connected flight. So those were my only two options to not have a connected flight, because I've never even been, like I said, I've never flown, so I wanted to make sure like I was going to have my luggage in the right spot, whatever. So I ended up getting on the plane, no problem. First time ever flying. It wasn't bad, honestly. I didn't have any issues flying at all. It was when I landed in the airport was when we had some major stuff going down. Some crazy things. Very crazy things were happening. So I ended up landing in LAX. It was about 2:15, 2:20 in the morning. Pacific time. So back at my house, it's like 5:15, roughly, 5:20-ish. And I usually get up between like 6 and 8 o'clock. It just varies. Usually between 7 and 8. So I was only a couple hours away from really being up normally anyway. If it would have been a work day, it would have already well been up. So being up at that time didn't really bother me. I slept on the plane on the way there. That was really the only sleep I had that night, was about the roughly 4 or 5 hours. It was closer to 4 hours on the plane. So what ended up happening was I get there and I was calling for hotel reservations for that night, and everywhere was either booked or they weren't going to allow me to actually stay that night for like half price, because I was trying to talk them down because I would have only been there to sleep for a few more hours. Couldn't get anywhere, so tried to even call my hotel, couldn't get anywhere. I couldn't get them to talk it down for half price. They wanted full price everywhere, because it was still $215 that night. But even $215, though, that is kind of weird that they didn't knock off any price. Race weekend, they usually jack the prices up too, so that probably had something to do with it. By the way, Biffle on pit road for his money stop this time by. 4 tires of fuel, no adjustments. So, with that being said, in LA, was just going to wait it out in the airport. Went down to the main floor, the first floor, and I was just going to wait it out. I was going to sit in there for like 2 to 3 hours and then take my Uber to the hotel, drop my luggage off at the hotel, and then go to the racetrack, because the race would have been noon and it was literally like 7.5 hours from when I landed the race was going to start. So I didn't have too much time to kill. You know, just a couple hours, going to sit at the airport. But again, mind you, it is 2:15 in the morning, LA time, Pacific time. And there are some very, 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 you know, strange, you know, odd people. Like, I'm not one to judge people, but there were some characters there, let me tell you. And first lady I saw at the airport, I think she was a homeless woman. I think. I would probably say 90% chance she was homeless. So she was walking around with one of the luggage carts is like almost like a walker kind of. She had all of her stuff on it, whatever. She goes in the airport, and she sits probably like 5 seats down from me to my left. 2 seats over from me to my left is some guy that departed off of either my plane or the plane after me, because I was the second to last plane that landed that night. The airport had closed for a couple hours until like 4 in the morning. I think they opened back up again. So they were closed at that time. And there were probably like 7 or 8 people that had departed off the last couple flights that were just kind of waiting it out in the hotel, basically doing the same thing I did. Most of them were sleeping in the hotel. I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't want to sleep in the hotel. I'm glad I didn't, because of the crazy people that were there. Nothing like too absurd happened, but it was absurd to see, but nothing like where I felt like I was in danger or anything. Nothing like that. So this lady sits down. She rests her feet up. She tries to take a nap. She had a blanket, pulls her blanket up. She tries to take a nap, tries to go to sleep. And mid-sleep, she'll wake up and she'll start talking to herself. So I think she was kind of like schizophrenic in a way, but at the same time, I think she also had multiple personalities, because she would talk to herself, but then you would hear somebody else's voice. It was almost like an exorcism kind of situation. It was really weird. It was really weird. Like, she would be talking to herself. I can remember the first thing she said. I can't really remember like the other conversations she had with herself. The very first one I remember, she was like, "Oh, they can't kick us out of here or whatever. Like, we're paying for, you know, our stuff, whatever." She's like, "We're paying to be here, whatever. They can't kick us out." And then you hear like, "Hell yeah, they can't." Hell, like just like a deep like grown man voice, like agreeing with her or arguing with her or whatever. It was really weird. But she would like, she wasn't saying it in her sleep. Like, she would wake up, say that stuff, and then she would nod back off and go to sleep again. It was wild. And when she did that too, I didn't know if her eyes were open or closed, because she had sunglasses on. Middle of the night, she had sunglasses on. But anyway, she had sunglasses on, so you couldn't actually see if her eyes were open or closed when she said that. I'm kind of glad, because I don't even want to know. And as soon as that happened, the guy that was sitting like 2 seats to my left, like halfway in between me and her, he got up as soon as she like said that the first time. He's like, "I'm getting out of here," and he gets out. He goes. He basically sat on the other side of the main room in the airport that we were in, and so he goes away. I sat there for like another 20 minutes or so. But she snapped out of it a few more times after that. And I ended up moving eventually too, because it was starting to creep me out after a while. Yeah, so that was the first person. Second person walks in, was like a werewolf looking guy. Now, I have facial hair, okay, but I keep it tamed at the same time. I also have longer hair, but I also, you know, keep it tamed at the same time. Now, this guy had like a beard, but it was like up to his like eyes almost. Like very, very hairy person. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen anybody with like a beard, but like their beard is really like high on their face. So that's what this guy was. But then he was also wearing like ripped clothes and clothes that had a lot of stains on it. Another homeless person. I'd have to, that one I could pretty much guarantee was a homeless person. The first person probably was 90% sure. This one I was like 100% sure. But he looked like a werewolf. It was like seeing a ghost, because he walked in. Again, nothing is open in that place. Like, he just walks in and like walks like through the doors. The doors open. He comes in. It's like, okay, that's weird. Somebody's coming in. and I tried not to like make eye contact or whatever, but I saw him, and you could tell other people had noticed him that were also awake at the time. Like I said, there's like 7 or 8 people in there, you know, basically doing the same thing I was, just sitting down waiting or sleeping. And like they see him walk through, and he just keeps walking. He goes up the stairs. I never saw him again. It was so weird. It literally was like watching a ghost, just kind of like just to walk right through the main hall. And I don't know where he was going, but he went upstairs for something. It was very strange. Because there were bathrooms on the main floor, so if he had to go to the bathroom, I don't know why he didn't go in that one, but he went upstairs. That was the second person. Then I had to. Then when I decided to take my Uber, it was like 5 o'clock in the morning, roughly, Pacific time. It's about 8 o'clock back home where I am at. About 5 hours before the race. I'm like, okay, time to go to the hotel. Let's get the Uber. I took the transit bus down to where the Ubers are at LAX. Took that, then ended up taking the Uber to Fontana. And Fontana from where LAX is about a 40 to 50 minute drive. Mileage wise, I think it's only like 25 to 30 miles, but because of LA traffic and everything, it's like 45, 50 minutes. So it was in the morning. Traffic wasn't bad at 5 a.m. either, so we actually got there a little quicker than 45 to 50 minutes. But regardless of the fact, that's what the estimated time was. So my price for the Uber was $93. And the guy, as soon as I got in, said that he was only getting paid $30 from Uber, so he was going to cut me a deal, already kind of shady as it is. He was going to cut me a deal. He was going to cancel the order if I had $50 in cash to give him cash, so that way he was getting an extra $20 and I was saving $40. I would have done the deal if I had cash on me, but I didn't really have cash on me because I don't usually carry cash. That I knew the NASCAR tracks now, since COVID, only pretty much carry, only take card only, so I didn't really have a necessity to have cash on me. So I didn't have cash on me, at least not enough. So we didn't do that, and he was driving me like 15, 20 minutes in. He was talking about how when he was going back, the traffic was going to be really bad by the time he drops me off because he didn't realize it was a 45, 50-minute drive. He's like, yeah, by the time I get back, the traffic's going to be really heavy, and I'm probably not going to get back to the airport in a while. So he said that he was just going to drop me off like halfway. Again, it's still dark outside. It's like 5 o'clock in the morning. Sun's not coming up for about another hour and a half, roughly. And I have never been in Los Angeles. I don't know where I'm at. You know, I don't know. We were probably just outside of LA at that time. But regardless of the fact, I don't really know exactly where I'm at. And he was going to drop me off halfway in the dark. And I was trying to, like, talk him out of it and stuff. And then he was just like, yeah, he's like, I guess it is your first time, or your first time being here or whatever. Because that's what he asked me. He was like, so it is your first time, you know, being here? I'm like, yes. And then he's like, okay, I'm not going to do that to you. Like, he basically second-guessed himself and just took me to my hotel. Thank goodness. All right, so I get to the hotel. And there's nobody there. Like, I can't get in the lobby. The doors are locked on the lobby. There's cars there, so obviously it's open and there's people staying there. It's just booked. There's just nobody there. So I was sitting outside, and this one lady actually pulled up around the corner. She probably got breakfast somewhere or something, because by the time I got dropped off, it was like 5:45. And I waited it out until 6 o'clock. There's still nobody there. This one lady came in. I was like, do you know what time the lobby opens? Because you would think there would be somebody in there 24/7 anyway. And she was like, no, sir, sorry. She was probably scared for her life when she just saw me, like, sitting there or whatever on the side. She probably thought I was another homeless person or something. I had my bag with me and everything. But I was like, yeah, I'm trying to drop my stuff off before I go to the race or whatever. But yeah, she seemed kind of freaked out. So I did not mean to freak her out. But she seemed kind of freaked out. And it was still dark outside, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to walk across. There's a Starbucks across the street. Walked across the street to Starbucks. They got free internet. I was just on my laptop. Let me kill another little bit of time. So it was like 4.5 hours before the race. I'm getting my time wrong. It was probably about 5.5 hours before the race started. And I just decided to go to Starbucks. Killed like almost 2 hours there. In the process of me killing 2 hours there was another homeless person. A lot of homeless people in LA. There's another homeless person that walks into the Starbucks while I'm sitting there. And there's a few other people there already. There's a couple people sitting at other desks, and then there's people in line. And he walks in with a 16 case of cinnamon rolls, and he's trying to give them to people. I kid you not. There's this homeless guy. He walks into a Starbucks, and he's trying to give people cinnamon rolls. I don't know where he got the cinnamon rolls. They were packaged, like they were still packaged, like they looked like they haven't been opened yet. I don't know if he got them from the gas station, stole them from a gas station, got them from a dumpster. I don't know where he got them, but he got cinnamon rolls, a 16-pack of them, and he was trying to give them to people. I don't know if he was trying to give them for money or not. He just kept asking people if they wanted cinnamon rolls, but I didn't hear anything about him asking for money. And he kind of spoke broken English too, so you can understand that he was trying to give away his cinnamon rolls, but everybody was turning him down nicely, whatever. And he ended up leaving after a little while, so I didn't see from him again. That was the last homeless person I saw when I was in LA. Well, it was the last one I encountered person to person, at least, while I was in LA. I'd seen some other ones from afar, but I didn't actually come into, communication or anything like that with another one after that. So that was probably the funnier of the three, just because it was just so random, such a random thing. And so anyway, he ended up leaving. I go back to the hotel. The hotel lobby still closed at like 8 o'clock in the morning. There's a few other people waiting outside. The one guy said his coffee machine was broken, so he wanted to use the lobby coffee machine, and there was nobody in there, so he was getting pretty ticked off. This other guy was trying to check out. He was getting ticked off. And he was just having to sit around and wait. And then this guy finally shows up. His shirt was like almost like half buttoned. His hair was all messed up. It looked like he just rolled out of bed and like walked down the street to the hotel or something. Or maybe he had a room that night. Whatever the case was, he looked out of it. Walked in the hotel. I was able to drop my stuff off and finally end up going to the racetrack. I got to the track probably 2.5 to 3 hours before the race started. Had a good time at the racetrack, and the rest of the time it was fairly normal, but that whole 5-hour sequence roughly from the time I landed in the airport to the time I was on my way to the racetrack was just chaotic. It was so strange. I don't know if I'll ever have another 5-hour block of my life quite like that. So I'm glad that kind of happened. I'm glad everything was super... I never felt super uncomfortable with any situation. Like I said, I was in danger or anything like that. So that's what made it fun, I guess. It was just because it was just so wild. It kept it entertaining, I guess. Fun, maybe not the right word, but it was definitely entertaining. It just seemed like it was one thing after another after another. It was just random people occurrences. I was wondering if I was going to see anything else, but never did. So note to self and future reference: if you're ever in LAX airport or in Los Angeles area in the middle of the night or in dark in general, because it wasn't even middle of the night when I was in Starbucks and that happened. That was 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. The daylight, it was already daylight at that point. So just note to self that literally anything can happen. Anything. Just stuff you wouldn't even think of that would happen could potentially happen. But yeah, it was a wild experience. So that was my my first ever flight experience, flight/Fontana race, I guess. First ever time being in Los Angeles. First time being in California. What a welcoming party, though, too. First time I was ever in California. I'll have a story to tell the rest of my life. I've had some crazy road trip experiences already that I've shared on the channel, but I don't think I've shared that one yet. I see Billy saying that would creep me out. I think you were talking about the lady in the first lady in the airport. Yeah, that was the creepier of the three, I will say. That was very odd. I was kind of scared when I had got up to move that she was going to see me, so I tried to make sure she fell back asleep first instead of when she was in the middle of talking to herself in multiple voices. So I didn't want her to be mid-sentence talking to herself and then her look at me and where are you going or something like that. That would have been really creepy. That would have put the icing on the cake there with the creepiness. But as far as that goes, I made sure I waited until she nodded back out again, and then I got up and left, or at least walked to the other side. Tim Irvin, welcome to the stream. "28 laps to go at Homestead. Caution-free so far. Had a road trip story. We've tried to make the most out of this race. It has been very, very eventless. As Biffle's just dominated from the get-go. He qualified on the pole. He's led all 172 completed laps so far. You're going to Dover this week. I was wondering if you were or not. Hopefully you enjoy it. Are you going to be there all weekend or just for the Cup race on Sunday? Some cars pitting again for their third time in this race. Again, Biffle is easily going to be able to make it on fuel on just 2 pit stops today, stretching it 72 laps on each of his first 2 runs. Everybody else is pitting between 56 and 65 laps, so they're not going to be able to make it to the end on fuel. Share a story of a circuit that once ran around an extinct volcano. Where are you finding these stories at? Is it just on Wikipedia or is it on like some racing website? 25 laps to go, by the way, right now. Billy's predicted a caution-free race. Yeah, this stays caution-free. Biffle is obviously going to end up winning this one. He is dominated. It's going to be the second race he's going to lead wire to wire in this Busch Series season to go along with Dover, which was also 200 laps and also caution-free. Going tomorrow just to walk around, see everything, and then Cup race. Gotcha. Good thing with Greg Biffle leading every lap means that nobody else is going to get 5 bonus points for leading a lap, which would include Ron Hornaday, who's second in points. Biffle just got into the left rear corner panel of Tim Fedola. Really flat into turn 3 for Biffle, still trying to get around the 12 of Fedola, and he'll clear him in the middle of 3 and 4. Near the restart zone. If there's a lot of cautions, he'll be on top of everything. There you go. Well, I mean, that's a short enough track, too. You can definitely see all the action. Yeah, the next-gen car... I've noticed with the races this season, it seems like there's either been very little cautions or a lot of cautions in the Cup race. There hasn't been, like, an average amount, really. We have in the live commentary this weekend for the Cup race on the channel. I think Ron Hornaday might be the last car in the lead lap right now, either him or Ashton Lewis in the 46 car up ahead. They're trying to stay out in case we get a late yellow. "20 laps to go for the Biff." And this is our first race of 2 tonight. We'll be racing at Kansas right after the finish of this race. For the second race of our doubleheader tonight. Today's lap down. A lot of cautions are very little. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm expecting this weekend too. I noticed a lot of the short tracks, and I grouped over in with a short track because it is only a 1 mile racetrack. A lot of the short tracks haven't had a lot of cautions this year from what I noticed. So if I had to lean one way or the other, that's the way I'd probably lean. But it is the first race there with the next gen car, so definitely never know. Ashton Lewis going to go a lap down now on overall speed, so Biffle has a 1 lap lead on the field. "17 laps to go. If we get a caution, he's going to be able to pit and still have the lead, so he'll be able to get fresh tires back on his race car again. As long as he's obviously not involved in the accident. He's only made contact with the driver 2 times today, and he has not hit the wall at all through 184 laps. Well, the bright side, even if it is like Martinsville, at least it's not going to be super cold. Isn't it supposed to be like mid-60s? Nice temperature. At least it's not in the low 40s, high 30s. And at night. Dominating race for Greg Biffle. It's definitely going to be more slick than what Martinsville was. Between warmer temperatures, especially if the sun's out, like you said, concrete. Granted, the corners at Martinsville are concrete. I guess that wouldn't have made too much of a difference. Basically known as French Nuremberg, which ran 5-mile road course around many turns, leaving race cars a little no room for error. I'd imagine back in, like, that track was, oh, you said 59, 74. I feel like that's one of those racetracks where people got lost and they never found them. Like if they crashed. That feels like one of those types of racetracks back in that day. $11 laps to go for the Biff. And looking to make history in this one. Going wire to wire, leading all 200 laps. He's 11 laps away from doing so, and we are still caution free. And even if we get a yellow, as long as he's not involved in it, I don't see an instance where he's going to lose this one. It's going to be the 6th caution-free Busch Series race of the season. If we don't get one in the final 10 laps. Still have more drivers pitting. We're already a lap down, just trying to stretch it a little further. video about forgotten racing circuits. That's how I discovered. Was that Circuit de Charade? Charade? It's going to be interesting to see where Ron Hornaday is going to end up finishing this one. A few drivers out of the race as well with engine failures. Haven't really seen who any of them are. I'll have to take a full rundown of the finishing order following this first race. I'm hoping for a little bit more action in the next one at Kansas. If we have 2 races like this tonight, that's going to make for a long night. This was definitely a longer race. I tried to quicken it up with a little story time in the final 50 laps. Bought us about 20 to 30 laps of time. I mean, I have other road trip stories, but I think I've told them before. Seven laps to go for the Biff. This will be his 12th Busch Series win in the first 20 races. He's won 15 races on the Cup side, but it's also taken him 31 races to do that. And he'll get 12 in the Busch Series in just 20. Probably going to get some Eric Jones merch. Be cool to get some petty 43 stuff there. I do know, search for tent vendors while you're there. I didn't really do that when I was in Dover last year, and the reason why is because I didn't really, I guess, care enough at the time, because I didn't collect die-casts at that time. Classic ones like I do now. But there were some people I talked to that were in Bristol for the dirt race a couple weeks ago that said that they were going to be at Dover next. So be on the lookout around the racetrack area. If you see any tent vendors, they'll likely have some old NASCAR die-casts and some other old NASCAR merchandise that you can look at while you're there, Tim. I don't know how many are going to show, but I know of at least 2 of them that were at Bristol that are going to be there. Kyle Busch going to go a second lap down. 4 laps to go with the line for Biffle. Caution comes out this late in the race. It's going to end. Jackson Thomas, welcome to the stream. Busch trying to get one of his laps back. I don't know if he's going to have enough race car to be able to actually catch another driver for position, even if he gets a lap back around Biffle. It's Petty GMS. I mean, it's still got the Petty name in it. Yeah, it's not Petty Enterprise, but it's got the 43. It still has Petty in the name. Take with it what you will. When I'm doing the live race commentary, I'm calling him Petty GMS because it is Petty GMS. Two to go. They'll be coming to the white flag off of turn 4 this time. It's going to be our 3rd straight race on the channel. And it's going to go caution-free. What an insane streak we're on right now. Final lap. Biffle's going to go wire to wire, leading all 200 of them en route to his 12th Busch Series win of the season. And between the Busch Series and the Cup Series combined this year, that's going to be 27 wins. and counting, as he still has 11 more Busch races to go, including one more tonight. That will be at Kansas in a little bit. But for the short time between races, Greg Biffle will get to celebrate in victory lane at Homestead-Miami Speedway. Clutch win for Greg Biffle, an easy max points day as he obliterates the field. Easy win tonight for Greg Biffle, about as easy as they come. Only 1 hour and 49 minutes, leading all 200 laps from the pole, and he only had to pit twice versus everybody else having to pit 3 times. Dale Earnhardt Jr. finishes in second, Kevin Harvick third, Kyle Busch fourth, and Bobby Hamilton Jr. rounds out the top 5. Matt Kenseth ends up 6th. 7th was Ron Hornaday. That's who came in second in the point standings. Kenny Wallace 8th, Jeff Burton 9th, and Tim Fedewa rounds out the top 10. And then the drivers who DNF'd today, we only had, it looks like 4 drivers. 5 drivers DNF'd. Darrell Bradford, Jimmy Hill, Campbell, David Stremme, and Eddie Hammock all blew an engine in today's race. So we'll check the point standings out real quick, and then we'll stop this stream, and we'll go on to Kansas in the next race in a little bit. It'll be the running of the Mr. Good Sense 300 at the Kansas Speedway. 11 races now to go on the season. How about the Biff? Not a fan of Austin Dillon, but like his brother after the clash. What, he ran over like every car in the field. You like what you like, I guess. I'd probably go the other way around, but there's definitely something. Biffle has a 137-point lead over Ron Hornaday now. He came in with a 93-point lead into that race, so still within 1 race worth of points. Still decent ways to go yet on this Busch Series season. It is definitely not over yet. I'd say the top 4 at least within contention going into the final 11 races of the season. Again, no playoffs for the Busch Series. It's a full season points format. That's going to end it here for this one. Like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. I'll see you guys in a couple of minutes on a new stream. It'll be our second race of the night. Again, no live stream tomorrow, so that's why we're running the Kansas race tonight. Hence why the first race was moved up a little bit by an hour and a half in start time so we can get both races in at a decent time tonight. Thank you. I'll see you very shortly.